Guys,
Hi, Congressman.
how we doing?
How are you? What's going on, man?
What's up?
Congressman,
Yes,
you spoke with Bloomberg the other day. And
I
said
did.
That Vice President Biden is declining.
How did I know this was going to be the first question?
And that he doesn't have the evidence. Do you stand by that?
I would just say that, I have some concerns with a lot of the candidates. Some of this I expressed on the debate stage with positions that candidates are taking. But I think this is going to be a very long campaign, and we are going to need to articulate a very, very clear vision for the country, and it needs to be done in a very energetic way. And so that's all I have to say.
Do you have concerns about his age?
No.
Have you spoken to the Vice President since those comments?
No, I have not. I saw him in Iowa a couple weeks ago.
Some candidates are calling for unity of the Democratic Party. Are you worried that comments like this might divide the Democratic Party and could eventually hinder?
No. We always have this during primary elections, whether it's a local election or a national election, about a tough primary and people being concerned, oh my God, is the party going to come back together? And I will just say that there is a very unifying force in this world for Democrats, and he is the current occupant of the White House. And we are seeing people vote and support candidates that they may not agree on all their positions, but they're supporting him because they think that that candidate can beat Donald Trump. So to me, that's not even an issue. I will personally support whoever the nominee is, and will be very active in that campaign as I have been in the past.
Congressman, you will not be on the debate stage next week, and Houston is vowed to keep pushing forward
Yeah.
in this campaign. How do you compensate for that lack of sort of national awareness, and what does the path forward look like?
On the ground here in New Hampshire, South Carolina, Iowa, just being on the ground. I mean, we've seen candidates who had great debate stage moments, and they maybe got a bump in the polls and then went back down, or they stayed flat in the polls. So those are great opportunities, but it's not the be-all, end-all. It is September, and I went to law school here in New Hampshire. I ran campaigns here in New Hampshire. This is about retail politics. Iowa is about retail politics. South Carolina is about retail politics. And I think that this early, we've seen this. I mean, you guys have all been covering this for a long time. I mean, you pretty much know one thing. That's that the polls today are not, this is not how the race is going to end based on the polls today. And so there's going to be a lot of changes. We're getting a great response. Everywhere we go, we pull 2-3 volunteers out. We just rolled out, I think we were supposed to roll out today, another 5 or 6 endorsements from South Carolina. We'll have another couple of endorsements here in New Hampshire in the coming days. So people here see the long game too, and I know that, and we're going to play the long game regardless of the debate stage.
Sir, Pete Buttigieg said the nominee will come out of next week's debate stage. Talk about that.
I disagree.
Congressman, a number of candidates have come out for banning fracking, period, public and private land. What's your take on that, and could a candidate with that agenda win Ohio?
I obviously renewables are the future, but I don't think in this moment right now we could be banning fracking without any alternative job proposal for the millions of people that are going to lose their jobs. And there are huge $5 billion, every time I drive from Youngstown to the Pittsburgh airport, there's about a $4 or $5 billion, what's called a cracker plant. There are thousands of union workers in Western PA, in Ohio, that are working at that facility. I think it is a very dangerous position to say, not we got to move and use natural gas as a bridge into, you heard my speech out there, where I was talking about electric vehicles, batteries, that's the future. I think it could be done in a way where you're not affecting those workers. And I will just say, let me be very, very clear. As of today, many of the people in this campaign are going to have to go in Western PA, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. And the frame from the Republicans is going to be, they want to come and take your health care, your private health care, and force you into a public system. If you work as a union construction worker building some of these facilities, they want to take your job. Many of them raise their hand to free health care for undocumented workers, while these people are struggling every single day to pay their health care. That is a buzzsaw that we're walking into. And what I'm trying to do is provide an alternative view on how we win this election. Let's talk about expanding healthcare. Let's talk about expanding manufacturing and job creation in communities like the ones we're going to have to be campaigning in. I just think it's really dangerous. I mean, you know, call me a guy from Ohio, but that's a very dangerous position. I will tell you, I was home over Labor Day. My wife teaches in the public schools. I talk to the parents at the football games. Like, there are a lot of Democrats in this country that are very, very, very concerned that we are moving too far on these issues and it could jeopardize the election.
Congressman, what do you make of Vice President Biden's crowd? Do you think he's creating the kind of energy that the nominee will need if he back becomes that person?
Is that a follow-up question? I don't have really any comment on his crowd sizes. That became an issue in the last campaign and current events that the president holds. I'm here to tell people what I'm going to do, what my concerns are, and yes, sometimes that is an opinion on some of the candidates and their positions. I don't want to live there. I want to talk about what I'm going to do and try to get people involved.
Congressman, just to follow up on what you were saying to Bloomberg last night, the number one issue for Democrats, all the polls show, is who's the most electable Democrat against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And if you believe that Joe Biden is not up to that task, if he, I believe you said he was declining mentally, if that's your view, don't you have a responsibility to stand up and make that argument forcefully so that your party sends the strongest candidate against Donald Trump?
Well, like I said, it's September. First of all, that's the perception that people are getting from the vice president. And
What's
of the declining and the issues. I mean, he went on Colbert. I mean,
What do you mean? When you say declining, what do you mean?
I really don't want to get too much into that because I love the vice
Do you mean
president.
declining in the polls, or do you mean like declining mentally?
I don't really want to get into that too much. All I want to say is that we have got to have a very crisp, sharp, articulate message for the people going into the fall with Donald Trump. We have got to energize our base, and we've got to pull Trump voters in. I believe I'm the best person to do that. That's why I got into this race, and I believe that I'm better equipped to do that than Joe Biden is. And that's what I'm standing. I think I'm better than everybody, or I wouldn't have gotten a race. I mean, that's, you talk about, making a decision. You've got to make a decision based on, at least where I come from, do you think you can win? Do you think you're the best person to take on Trump? And do you have an agenda to move the country forward? I think I'm that person. And I'm going to continue to make that argument. And people in New Hampshire and Iowa and early states, they'll contrast me with the other candidates, which is fine.
Congressman, why make a statement like that if you're not willing or prepared to explain specifically what you meant?
Well, I made the statement. It was a comment that I made, and I'm not backtracking from it. It is a concern you're hearing from a lot of people in the country, and I don't think I need to bang everybody over the head with it. It's out there. I said it, and there's a lot of other things I want to talk about.
Are you specifically talking about his mental state?
I'm just saying that it's unclear sometimes when he is articulating positions. There's a lack of clarity, and I'll leave it at that.
Congressman,
You good?
Manchester is currently in the grip of the opioid epidemic.
Mhm.
How do you plan on combating the opioid epidemic in urban areas such as Manchester as well as rural areas?
It's a great question. So we have this experience in Ohio as well. We've been dealing with this for many, many years. I'm a co-chair of the Addiction Treatment and Recovery Caucus. It's got to be a comprehensive plan that starts with prevention, helps law enforcement that's really burnt out today dealing with the crisis. It also gets into treatment and recovery and making sure that the resources are available for people to get the treatment that they need. This is going to be about, plays into the healthcare conversation, but it also is about Medicaid. Right now in states like Ohio, you'll get a 30-day treatment and that's not nearly enough for something as addictive as, opiates and heroin and fentanyl. And so I believe that we need to expand that to at least 90 or 120 days for treatment, and that's going to cost money to the tune of about $10 billion a year to fund some of these programs, especially some of the local stuff. So it's got to be done comprehensively, and it needs to be done with resources to back it up.
We have time for one more question, guys.
Right, Congressman, you had a couple endorsements a month or two ago from some people who formerly had been Joe Biden supporters
Yep.
in previous elections. Is that a strategy that your campaign is pursuing, reaching out to people who maybe liked Biden in the past or haven't really gotten word from him and trying to get support from them?
Yeah, I mean, and others. I mean, we'll be revealing some other endorsements here in the coming weeks of, people who've supported other candidates. But, clearly down in South Carolina, we've made a lot of headway. We did get Representative Fletcher Smith, who was Vice President Biden's 2008 co-chair. His political director, Brandon Brown, is with us now. One of his top faith-based people in the African-American community, Pastor Caesar Richburg, is with us now. So we are doing the grassroots campaign, which is why the question about the debates, to me, it's about getting down on the grassroots and talking to people, having meaningful conversations that don't necessarily happen, on Twitter. And that strategy has always worked for me. It worked here in New Hampshire. We have Dan O'Neill, who's the top vote-getting at-large alderman here in the city of Manchester. Bill Berry, very popular ward alderman here. Tim Baines, business owner, son of the former mayor. He's endorsed our candidacy. So it works. It's old school. It's the only way I know how to do it, and it works. And so it is part of our strategy. Good. I got a live interview, so I got to...
Is it demoralizing at all to not be gaining any traction?
Well, I'm releasing 6 new endorsements today from South Carolina. We've got some good endorsements that I just talked about in New Hampshire. We'll have more coming, and we're going to continue to build this out in South Carolina. I feel like we have more momentum today than we've ever had at any point during the campaign, and we're going to continue to move forward. And as I said, anybody who's been watching New Hampshire, Iowa, primary politics for any amount of time at all knows that it's probably not going to be the person who's in the top 2 or 3. It's probably going to be somebody else. And my argument is, I'm going to be that somebody else.
But is it frustrating for you that what looks like momentum to you is not really what momentum looks like for the other candidates who are, for instance, in the next debate?
No, not really, because of the history that I've experienced here in New Hampshire and that the political history that we have here. They have a lot more money than me. They have networks that are bigger than mine, but we are moving in the right direction, and I would rather be me than a lot of them right now. Because they've had millions of dollars, they've had moments on TV, they've had a lot of national media, national press, national shows, and a lot of them are staying the same in the polls.
But couldn't you make the argument that you had an opportunity to create moments like that?
Yeah,
and you didn't?
possibly, yeah. I take full responsibility for everything that happens in our campaign, and all I'm saying is we're getting endorsements, we're getting momentum, and it's September, so if we have the same conversation in February, I'll agree with you, but I don't plan on having that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you, appreciate it.